luck, vision, and money.
There
Because you
go.
have to have some money to be able to act on the luck and the vision, and you need some vision to act on the luck. But you need some money to be able to act on the vision because of the luck, and it's all like intertwined.
Welcome to the Grant Wise Show. This podcast helps ordinary real estate agents build extraordinary companies. Let's grow in 3, 2. What's up, everybody? Grant Wise here. Welcome back to the Grant Wise Show. And I'm excited today because we have a very special interview. We might have low quality video, as you can see. We might have low quality lighting, but we are not going to have a low quality conversation because I am joined today by the one and only Mr. Gary Ashton, who has built a $1 billion brand, a $1 billion business, doing $1 billion things every single day. He's just an absolute legend in our real estate space, and I'm excited to have a conversation with him today. So, Gary, thanks for jumping on the show.
Yeah, it's all fun.
So, the podcast is about helping ordinary people build extraordinary companies. And obviously, you all know I like to interview people that have built extraordinary companies and kind of ask them how they did it. Gary's been rehearsing his response for several minutes. So, Gary, how do you build an extraordinary
Let
company?
me tell you something. Luck, vision, and money.
Luck, vision, and
Because I've done a few podcasts now, and people always ask me, how did you get to be the number one RE/MAX team in the world? Well, obviously it's not just me. There's a bunch of people are involved. It's a whole organization. And how did I get to that point? How did I meet Deborah Beagle? How did I meet Scott Hull? How did I meet Joe Levy? How did I meet Jeff Checo? These are all really important people in the organization. And everybody contributes it to the success. And I mean, I had some vision. This is what I was trying to explain earlier on. Is that I used to say it was the right place at the right time because in 2001, that's when I got my real estate license. Mm-hmm. I moved to Nashville from Florida, where I had a motel. My dad had a mom and pop motel. We bought the motel in 1990, and that was kind of at the start of the internet started like mid-90s. Mm-hmm. So I had an advertising and marketing background. So our hotel was doing really, really well. We got up to like 100% occupancy. My mum was still in England. My brother was still in England. And we were leveraging my knowledge of marketing to get Brits to come and stay with us. Because they would come in what would traditionally be the down times, which is July, August, when it's crazily hot, and people in America go, "Hey, do you want to go to Florida for the summer?" No, not really. So we got the Brits all coming in, and then we also got the Brits coming in kind of like that down period between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Mm-hmm. Because what do you do then? You don't go on vacation in between Thanksgiving and Christmas usually. Right. But the Brits would come in because they could come in and this is back in the 90s. The dollar, when we first moved, was $2 to the pound. So it was a really good exchange rate. People would come across from England, fly with nothing but empty suitcases, come and stay. And then they would go to Walmart and just, everything's cheap at Walmart anyway, right? Yeah. And then the Brits would go, I can't believe it. We've got this T-shirt for effectively £1 when it's, So we did really well. We got all of the Brits coming in, and that we were doing through advertising through the national media in England, which was, we were putting ads in the back of the Daily Express, which is the national newspaper. Well, England's about the size of Florida, but I knew that you could get last minute space. They call it snatch space. It's that space. This is before internet. This is ad space that the salespeople, if they couldn't sell it for £2,000, which is kind of like the rate card, they would let it go last minute for £200. So every week I would say, if you get down, there's nothing left, put me in for £200. So some weeks I would get it. Most weeks I would get it. Some weeks I didn't get it. But that enabled us to have this, for us it was a cheap little ad, but we had a national advertising. So we were getting people in. And then we realized when the internet came along, instead of sending people a trifold brochure, which had all our information, I transferred that to a website. And that was the first thing that we had. And then that's when I realized I could start playing around with the website. And then I realized I could, instead of having just a trifold brochure on 6 pages, as it were, now I could hyperlink certain things. So like the rate card for the room descriptions, I could link those all together. And I didn't realize it, but what I was doing was the user experience.
Right.
Trying to make it just useful as possible so that you could look at the room, then click on that, then that would take you to the floor plan, click on where the window is, and then you could see the view, and then you could see the different prices.
And this was all for the hotel?
Yes.
In Miami, is that right?
No, Clearwater Beach.
Clearwater, okay.
Because I wanted it to that's how logically I think, is like I want to see the price, but what is the room? What does the room consist of? What's the layout? It's kind of a little bit like real estate, but you want to know what the view is.
Yeah.
And so I did all that, and then we sold the hotel in 2000 because this is a long story, but I was playing music back in England before we came to America. So I was still playing drums. Somebody in Nashville heard the CD that I was playing on, and then they said, "You guys should come to Nashville." And I said, "This is fantastic. I'm going to go to Nashville. I'm going to be a big superstar playing drums in this band." Because I thought I was pretty good. And then when I got to Nashville, that's when I realized, these people here are really talented. They're the real deal. I was just like a young pretender, as it were. So that's when I realized that I'm going to do music and I'm going to do real estate. And originally it was supposed to be music here and just a little bit of real estate. And I was like, I'm not going to make any money. This 15-year-old kids are just absolutely brilliant. That put me to shame, So then he went, I'm not going to make any money doing music, and just let me focus on real estate. Because we sold the hotel, so we had to do the 1031 exchange, reinvest the money and go and buy investment properties. So that's when I thought, well, if I get my real estate license, that gives me the inside scoop. I'll have all the intel. I'll also get the commission when I'm buying things.
Yep.
So, and then that's when I realized I need to focus purely on real estate. And then first thing I bought was GaryAshton.com because of my ego. It's like, I was so short-sighted. I wanted Gary at GaryAshton.com. I thought that was cool to have your own. I wasn't really thinking about the domain name. I should have bought NashvilleRealEstate.com. I should have bought, NashvilleHomes.com. All those things I should have bought back then, but I just wanted Gary Ashton because I thought it was cool. And so that's what got me into real estate. So I got my license March of 2001. So this is where the luck comes in. The IDX, which is the Internet Data Exchange, that started in 2001, allowing me to have a website and putting everybody else's listings on that website so that when people went there to get information, it had all the listings in the MLS on there. So, and I didn't have to put any other information. If people wanted information, they have to come through me. So I got one of those, and I started doing pay-per-click. I was one of the first ones to do pay-per-click. There was a couple of other people doing it. And I realized pretty quickly that if you're number one, you get more clicks than being number 2 or number 3. So I would always make sure that I was number one. And I was trying to figure out, how do I get into the organics? I didn't really how are all these people down there? They're not paying for clicks, they're organic. That's where I want to be. And so I couldn't figure that out. Then the next thing that happened was the people that own Nashville.com, which is a geo domain. So back then, before the algorithm changes with Google, anything that had Nashville in, Nashville.com would rank. So if it was Nashville Homes for Sale, it was Nashville.com. If it was anything, Nashville Cinemas, Nashville.com. So it ranked for absolutely everything. And then, so they were trying to figure out, how do we sell all these leads that we're getting from people that come into the site and they're requesting information about real estate. We've got all these leads coming in. Who take advantage of this? So they tried to contact all the local RE/MAX broker owners and all the other big names of people that they thought would be interested. Well, they would have been if they got to the actual person,
Right.
but they would call in front desk and they go, yeah, let me see. Somebody's selling leads here. Tell them to hang up. So they couldn't get through to the decision makers. I think it went to a relocation department for one of the big brands here. But the relocation department was taking that lead, putting it to one side, dealing with all the other stuff. 3 or 4 days later, they were, all right, we need to, Grant, would you like this lead? There's somebody thinking about moving here from Miami to Nashville. And you go, yeah, I'll take it. And then you probably shuffle it around in your desk, and then 3 days later you would call it. So now this lead is like a week to 10 days old, and then when you call them, they're like, what? No. How'd you get my number? One of those things. So they started looking on Google Nashville homes for sale and Nashville real estate. I was there with PPC #1, so like, let's call this guy. He understands the value of leads generated through the website, through Google. And so they said to me, so this is, I think, 2004. They said, it's $2,000 a month. And so back then I was spending like maybe $100 a week or something. So just me doing pay-per-click, and the clicks back then were a penny. So they said, look, we'll give you free leads for a week as a proof of concept. I said, okay. And literally what happened then was like, so if you imagine the leads I'm getting from pay-per-click are like if it's a faucet, a tap, it's like a, I can get that one, let me call it. I can get that one, let me call it. That's my 2 leads for the day, right? I'm done.
Yeah.
And I was super advanced because I had the leads come into my pager, so I wasn't checking my email. So as soon as the leads came in, went to my pager, I was like, let me call that person. So again, without really realizing it, I would call the lead as soon as I got it. Like literally you submit it. And now we all know that's called speed to lead. I didn't realize, but I figured out pretty quickly if I call you as soon as I get that, you're going to be your mindset is still going to be receptive to getting information about real estate, essentially. Because if I wait an hour or 2 hours, then you go into the shopping mall, or you're getting your oil changed, or you're picking up the kids from school. So if I can call you as soon as you've submitted that information, then you're super receptive. So that's what I was doing. I was calling as soon as the lead came in. And I used to go to the sales meetings, and then so I started doing pretty well, and I got some really big leads. So like one of them was he was the president of EMI Christian Music Group, a guy called Rich Peluso. So I became pretty friendly with him, and he was obviously into music. I was into music. As soon as he registered, I called. I go, hey, this is Gary Ashton. I saw you just registered on my site. You're looking for information. And he said, oh, hey, yeah, I'm looking for, no, where are you from? Because I had an English accent. So my accent really was helpful, because I think what people would hear me saying was, and they were going, where's this guy from? He's not from Nashville. And so it became a little bit of a talking point. And then Rich was like, no, where are you from? Because he was a Beatles aficionado. So he's like, you from Liverpool? Where are you from? You could tell I was from the north. So then we just hit it off and literally talked about music for like 10 or 15 minutes. Nothing about real estate. And then he said, yeah, well, actually, we're looking for a house. So I'd already I think I always describe it as when you call somebody, it's a big brick wall, and you're on the other side as a client, and I'm trying to take one brick down at a time because I'm spending more time.
That's good analogy.
And then eventually you get to see, and then, this guy's he knows what he's talking about, and he's pretty cool. And so then we develop a relationship, and then I said, let me get what you're looking for. And I'll say, oh, yeah, I'm so glad you called. This has been great. The start of the call, you're like, hello, yeah. No, why are you calling? I didn't expect anybody to call me. So this is don't forget, in 2001, right at the start of it. So I would build up really good relationships with people, and then I would do pretty well. I go to the sales meeting, they say, Gary, you had the biggest sale, 1.5 million. How do you get your lead? And I would say, oh, it was a referral. Because I didn't want to tell people it was so simple that you would get the lead online. And it cost me, maybe it got up to $3 or $4 a click, but I was still paying because that one house that Rich bought, that was probably a penny a click back then. Well, from that, I got to do open houses on his house, which is in a really hot area. This is, again, back in 2001, I think it was. Fieldstone Farms. Through doing an open house there, the house was worth like $250 bad. So many people coming in because they want that neighborhood covered the whole range.
Yeah.
And I picked up, I think, 5 different buyers from doing open houses. So I was sold on doing open houses. So from that one penny investment, because I was on a different split, I wasn't like the Remax split, but I think I made probably 70 or 80,000 from that 1 penny investment. So when they went to 2 pennies, I was like, yep, I got to stay number 1, 3 pennies. And so that's how that was a little bit of luck, being right at the very beginning. Luck that maybe the guys from NashvilleRealEstate.com called me, but I had the vision to use the IDX to put that on my website to then realize if I advertise, I can get more leads and then add some money to be able to do that. So luck, vision, money. So that enabled me to get the Nashville.com. So then I went from 1 or 2 leads a day, which is a regular PPC, to, it's kind of like, my analogy is like it's a tap, faucet, drip, drip. But then they came on and then turned it on, and there's like leads. There's leads coming everywhere. What can I do? Oh, I'm essentially drowning in leads. So that's when I got to get somebody to help me with these leads, and then I was giving them out to everybody in the office that wanted the lead. Hey, I've got this lead. Do you want to go look at homes in Franklin, 500,000, which is a great lead, but I was like, I can't take all these. These $2 million leads, $1 million leads, I'll take those. Like being really greedy. I'm going to take them all. So that's how I started the team, because the people I was giving them to the office, they would go, sure, I'll take it, but then obviously they would be more focused on their own personal business, because I was saying, well, give me 50%. Yeah, as long as I could track them, and I had one person did have to force him to take him to court about it, because he took one of my leads, sold the house, and then declined to give me the referral. So it was all fun and games. But that's because I was just randomly giving them out to anybody. I had no system set up. So then I realized I got to get these people. What do I do? Oh, teams weren't. I'm sure they were around, but there wasn't very many that you could go online and talk about teams and developments and how you can create accountability with teams and all that good stuff. So that's how that started. So literally, I was in the right place at the right time, had some luck, had some vision, and had some money. So that's how I started with getting into the lead generation game.
And you've seen a lot of change in the lead generation game, because obviously going from doing this back in the early internet days to doing it today, it's almost completely different in certain ways. Yeah,
there's a lot of differences, but a lot of similarities. At the end of the day, you have to create. So the value add back then was like, I was so quick that I would get on the phone and then they would talk to me. I would engage with them. They would, but I was creating. Still needed to have the knowledge of the market. Still needed to have that information, that intel that they found valuable. It might have been just about the price ranges, just about the commute times, all the things. You could tell them how to get access to school information, which is one of the big things. So, like one of my first leads was they were interviewing for the new general manager for the Titans. I think we got 3 of the candidates registered on my site, and one of them I ended up working with. It was actually his wife I talked to when she signed up, and then she again was like, wow, that was fast. I wasn't expecting it. But I got on really well with it, and what she wanted was more information. And then I think I gave the other leads to a couple of other agents, but this one I worked myself. And I went out and I went above and beyond. I took pictures of them. She just thought I was the best thing ever. And I gave her all the access, told her where to go, because, we can't tell people about the schools, but I gave her access to go to look the state sites about how you register the school. So everybody has access to that. And so I was showing her how to do that, how she could research the schools herself and then figure out where they are, what the commute time was, all that stuff. And so I ended up getting, that was Mike Reinfeld, and he became the general manager of the Titans. So again, from that, actually she found me on Yahoo. I remember now, she Yahooed Nashville real estate. I came up in the organics ranking well, because that was the other thing that I realized, that Nashville.com was essentially renting, and which is great. I'm paying my rent. I'm getting lots of leads coming in, but really, I'd rather build my own
database.
My own asset, really, which was the website. So my domain name back then was Nashville Buyers. That was the site I had. I had Nashville Buyers, Nashville Sellers, Franklin Buyer. I had all these different buyer names. Thought I was going to have a whole network of domains with buyer. And anyway, so I forgot how I got introduced to real estate webmasters, Morgan Carey. That was before he's even REW, and I knew that I wanted a site that was going to rank well. So prior to that, I was on Advanced Access, which doesn't exist anymore. But I was using that for PPC. But then I knew that I wanted to move from PPC, which was renting, to owning the site and owning the leads myself through the SERPs, through the organics, which is, to me, is like, so my analogy here is that's like building a house. If you do PPC, that's like renting. So as long as you pay your rent, you get your leads coming in.
Correct.
With the house, as long as you build a strong foundation and then build it correctly, use all the diagrams, get professionals to build it for you.
Yeah.
You'll be able to then live in that house and never have to pay rent. The only thing you've got to do is you've got to pay your mortgage, obviously, and then you've got maintenance that you have to do. So there's still money that you have to invest in your house when you live there. And to me, that's like the website. You build a strong foundation, and then you have to start creating content and adding backlinks and working on the UX. But that's your product. You're building it, and it just becomes more and more valuable as you go. Whereas renting, PPC, is great. As soon as you stop, it's gone. So people always say, what would you do? Well, I would still do PPC to get the ball rolling, because that's going to generate your business. But don't put all that money back into PPC. Put some of that into start to build the foundations for your website. Eventually, I stopped doing PPC. It was all organic leads. So, luck, vision, and money. Because you have to have some money to be able to act on the luck and the vision. And you need some vision to act on the luck. But you need some money to be able to act on the vision because of the luck. And it's all like intertwined, really.
100%. At certain points, you've been early on trends, so you're talking about luck, and you've had the vision and the money, et cetera, to take advantage of these things. There came a point where, and there's two paths to go here. One was you saw value in brand. The other was you saw value in building an ISA team and maybe Mrs. Beagle coming in and operating. It just there's three really key things to the business.
So the brand was when I got Nashville.com, because prior to that I was with a big regional company. Great company, great for training. It was a great place for me to start. But if you were coming from California, or from New York, or from Chicago, you've never heard of this regional company. And also with Nashville.com, I needed something that was instantly recognizable, because it was just a page. And all I had was really a logo in the top right corner. So Gary Ashton Real Estate. Who the heck's that? You're coming from LA, you have no clue. That doesn't mean anything. So the national brands at the time really were like Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams were relatively new, and then Remax. And Remax is, I've always said, why would you pick a balloon as your logo? It doesn't make sense to me, right? But it's instantly recognizable. So it's been around long enough, it's got that brand equity. People see the red, white, and blue balloon, they associate that with real estate. So when you come to the national.com back then, you can go to the website now. It's not really changed. It's really, they never really invested in it. It's just been a cash cow for them. I think there's still a little top right corner, real estate. And when I was doing it, having that Remax balloon, because it didn't say anything about me, it didn't really say anything. It just said Remax, therefore that's real estate. People were subliminally coming. If you're thinking about moving to Nashville, you're kind of researching Nashville. What kind of jobs are there? What kind of do they have a sports team? Don't forget, this is back in the 2000s, and I think there was an element that people thought it was people sitting in rocking chairs with a piece of straw and a shotgun, singing a country song. So people, if you've been told, hey, you're going to become the regional manager, we're going to make you run the whole state, and it's in Tennessee. What? Tennessee? Yeah. And you're going to be, Nashville is where we're going to base you. So then you would go to research Nashville. Yeah. That's how you would come to Nashville.com. And then subliminally, you know that if you're researching about moving to Nashville, you're going to have to buy a house. And that's where that Remax balloon really came in useful. So,
well, then you also, like, as an extension of that, you've got billboards, you've got radio. Like, when did you really start to lean into the personal brand?
So that's, again, it's the same thing. It's like I realized I was leveraging the brand, but I also need to develop my own brand as well. So working with Justin Haver in Canada, Chris Lindell, they became like my coaches. Justin's up in Calgary, Chris is in Minneapolis, and we would always talk about how can we improve things. And I was just with a group of guys that were doing similar things. We're all on the same trajectory, as it were. And then I knew somebody in Atlanta that was doing billboards. So that was the same little mastermind. Chris was at the mastermind and said, I need to do billboards. That's amazing. So Chris was the first one to do billboards. And then he said to me, you need to do billboards, Gary. Well, I had a much stronger source of business through SEO, which Chris didn't have. Justin was a little bit behind me, but didn't have quite the same, back then, didn't have quite the same organic presence. And so he was quicker to adopt doing the billboards than I was. And so I kind of ummed and ahed. I think I'd been doing radio for a little bit, I did radio. So radio was like the first portion, but I was doing sports marketing because I got the Titans account. So that was to be associated with a major sports teams. That's what adds to your brand equity. It elevates you. Because if you're working with any of those teams, like the soccer team, the NFL team, or the hockey team, you're transferring that
influence.
So I've been doing that. So I did that. I think Chris was doing the hockey as well around about the same time. Anyway, those two did billboards, and they kept saying, you've got to do billboards, you've got to do billboards. Then that person in Atlanta came into Nashville, and I knew what he was going to do. He was going to flood the market with billboards. So I think I found out on a Monday, and then by Wednesday I put an order in for 50 billboards in Nashville and committed to doing it for the year. So, and then we realized that actually did have a lift on the business. So that became sold in that. And then it was just all about creating the messaging. So worked with the same advertising agency for, 5 or 6 years now. And they came up with don't sell without the intel. So because what I was trying to explain is that we get so many people coming to the website. So we get to see what people are looking at. So if you would sell a house, I can reverse engineer that, and I showed them how you can put in your address, your price, and then it will in real time search the back end of our site and say there have been 72 people looking for a house just like yours in the last, I think I was doing 30 days at the time. So how do I get that on a billboard? Use my billboard because if you do this, and this, and this, and this, that, and it'll show you how many people. It's too long. Right. So they came up with,
don't sell without the intel.
So you have the intel. Yeah. So don't sell without the intel. I thought that's amazing. Love it. So they came up with that, and then we really started focusing on using that in the radio, the billboards. We still do TV. So TV is utilizing that, and you've seen the TV commercial. It's me, and people keep coming asking me questions. It was designed to make me look like the local because I live here, whereas a lot of the competition is out of state, or the whole Southeast. The owners doesn't live in Nashville. So it was more about positioning me as the local authority with all the intel. And then intel about the coffee shop, burgers, best karaoke, and then what I do if I'm selling my house. Don't sell without the intel.
Yeah. And the commercial was so well done. I'll make sure that I link it so that if anybody's listening to the podcast, they can watch it because it was fantastic. But you said that you put in an order for 50 billboards, and I'm sure it wasn't immediate, but you saw a lift.
No, it was immediate.
You saw an immediate lift in the business when you made that.
It was an immediate awareness because just in my little circle of friends, they're like, hey,
I saw the billboard.
I saw your billboard. And then we would see, because it's kind of like that jab, Gary Vee, right hook.
Yeah.
Well, I've been jabbing with the internet for a long time, and jabbing with radio, and jabbing with the sports marketing. You go to a game.
Yeah.
So,
okay, that makes sense.
And then the billboards come along and TV, and there's like, boom. Now, was it the billboard? But it was a combination of all those body punches, and then
everything.
Then it comes out, and then the right hook or left hook was the I think the billboards, because the billboards are the one thing that you can't turn off, and I think TV elevates you. And people go, oh, if you're on TV, you must be doing pretty well. And then if you look at that TV commercial, I didn't want to skimp on that TV commercial because there's a very subtle difference. I don't know what it is, but if it's just a cheap camera, cheap sound, and you've seen them where they go, come buy with me. And then they're looking at the camera. There's like this awkward pause at the end of it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that the TV commercial was produced at a national level. So that TV could be on any national. It wouldn't look out of place. It would be great next to another national TV commercial. Essentially, it was that level of quality, which again is subliminal. You can't tell why you didn't like that one commercial over this one, but it's everything that goes into it behind the scenes. The cameras are on dollies, there's lighting, there's sound. It took us all day to do 2 commercials that are 1 minute. Because it's the number of takes, the lighting, all the checks. And there's people coming in. It was funny. And I did that. My line was, don't sell without the intel. So I didn't have to learn any lines. It was just a lot of work. I'm a musician, so coming from working in the studio to record a 3-minute song, 2.5-minute song, well, you're in there all day long. So
right.
Why does it take so long? It's still hard to explain. Well, you've got to get the drums right. So it's like you sound checking. Then you got to get that foundation of the song right, and then you got the bass got to go on top, then the guitar, then there's different vocals, and
there's a lot of layers.
Yeah, and it's like takes a long time. It's still hard to explain why it takes long.
Now, the real estate industry right now is obviously all in on lead generation. In 2022, I haven't seen the statistics for 23 yet. The real estate industry spent roughly $122 million generating leads.
Wow.
Collectively, and you see the average number of contact attempts has had to increase dramatically. Like we used to be able to pick up the phone when you got a lead and talk to someone who'd likely have a high success rate.
Oh, for sure. So
then today it's 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, just to get somebody to answer the phone.
You have to be really, really persistent. And the funny thing is, if the people would answer the phone, they would go, oh, just like in the past. Because I would start those conversations, and like I said, it's like the brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the conversation, we're now best friends. And, oh, Gary, I'm so glad you called. That was great. I needed that information. And, oh, you've been great. This is great. I look forward to meeting you. So the same thing is, if we can get through to people, they would see the value that we actually bring. But it's that brick wall now is about 20 feet tall, and we're like hammering and trying to get through.
How does the brand help you break through that wall? Where maybe somebody that doesn't have that relationship with the market yet?
Yeah, it's tough because we've invested a lot in lead generation and built. And I'm all about not having one lead source. So we were the flex team for Zillow. So when Zillow came along, I was doing Premier Agent and generate leads from there. Then Zillow Office came along. We became the Zillow Office team. Then Flex came along because Zillow Office failed. So then they gave us the opportunity to be the Flex team. Prior to that, I was spending 6 figures on lead generation for that. That went away. I was already doing the SEO, went to Flex. So instead of keeping that money that I was spending on Zillow, Premier Agent, I then applied that to buy leads from realtor.com. So there's another lead source. And I've always done that. Like, I know I'm a little bit of a shiny object guy, but I want to make sure that if somebody comes to Nashville, and we've seen this where they'll go to one site, which, maybe Zillow or realtor.com, but they'll also go to another site, which might be Zillow or realtor.com. And then they'll go to another site, which might be realty.com, or they might go to garyashton.com, or they go to nashvillerealestate.com. Well, all those leads funnel in. And in Scott and I have seen it, like somebody's like pinged around the different sites, and they all filter down into our site. So it's tough because I guess that's why I don't want to just concentrate on one site. I don't want all my eggs in one basket. Because
you have all these marketing assets out there that are really working for you at all.
Yes. Yeah. And then as you keep telling me, my database is huge. We've got 350, maybe close to 400,000 people in there now. So that's over a period of time. And that's one thing that we probably haven't focused on. My analogy is the tennis ball machine. The leads come in, you catch the tennis ball and you put it here. Oh, another one. Oh, let me put it here. You can catch the tennis balls all day long. And then at some point, you've got to reassign them out to other agents. That's kind of the thing. But you still, you're missing them. That's what I was missing leads because I I'll take that one. Oh, I'll get that one. Oh, I'll get that one. Cradling them here. And when you get to about 15 people, then that good lead just falls through and rolls off. And then we've seen that with our focus has been a lot on the new leads, people going in to buy. We should have been focusing on those people once they bought, because those are future clients, like 3 years, 4 years, sometimes even just a year, they're going to sell. So thanks to you, that's what we've been focusing on, is really
re-engaging the database.
Yeah, it's like people say there's gold in them there hills, and it's true. And we kind of laugh about it. I think there's not as much gold, and you think there's lots of gold, and it turns out there's gold coming out. Yeah, so it's working all the stuff that we do, like really segmenting the database. We have enough data to be able to do that. Scott and he's doing a fantastic job. You can figure out, with working with you, how we target those different people and retag all the stuff that you're a bit of a genius at. So yeah, where we're going with that.
You mentioned Scott a few times.
Yep.
And I know you don't know what to call him in the organization because he kind of does so much. But
when I introduce him, I say that this is Scott Hull as the director of sales, but he's also our tech genius. It's like forward thinking, because I would say that I'm techie for a realtor. But then it's kind of like saying I was a good drummer and then coming to Nashville and going, oh, those people are actually really, really good.
Yeah.
So tech, Scott's the same way. But I think we we connect on that techie side. But
I've heard Deborah talk about building a world-class sales department, and Scott was obviously, my understanding, instrumental in developing that. Scott and Joe Levy and Deborah. How impactful has having that type of a sales team to support the agents been in the business?
So I always said the best person to talk to the lead when somebody registers is me. And so I used to take all the calls. I was the ISA, as it were. Every lead that would come in, hey, it's Gary Ashton. Yeah. Oh, you moved to Brentwood? Let me connect you with Scott Hull on my team. He's our resident. He knows everything about Brentwood. Oh, so we're not going to be working with you? No, but Scott is really a man. And there was always this like, really? You kind of like, you're passing me off to. So that's when I thought, well, I need to take myself out of the equation. So that's when we started the ISA model. Justin had kind of been working on that for a while. So, picked his brain and we kind of copied what he did. Got the ISA department. And the ISAs were pretty much overseas. So they helped us move the needle because the ISAs awesome. They would always answer the call. They would always do all the stuff like set the search up, do the emails. But at the end of the day, I mean, I have an accent, they have an accent. When you talk to them, I think you realize they're overseas. So there's like a little subliminal thing.
Yeah.
And they're not licensed. They're not agents. So they can only talk about so much. So that's why I said the best person to answer the call is the agent that's going to work that lead. So we've gone to the next level. So the ISAs, the overseas ISA is still an integral part of our business. They do all the, I would say, the heavy lifting, a lot of the behind the scenes work, like following up with the agent to make sure they actually got stuff like that. And then Scott became the first licensed ISA because he was really good on the phone and got all these great sales skills. So he became the first ISA, and then I remember saying to him, if you do well, I can see you running the ISA department. And obviously then Joe came along, then added to it, and because Joe came from BMI, so he was used to making outbound calls all the time. So we have this, I think it's the 8C principle. It's a constant calling creates confidence, cash, closings, and there's one other one, I've forgotten what it is. I have it written down somewhere. Because what Joe would say is like, if you constantly calling people, you get your script right, and you make your mistakes here, and they go, all right, little correction here on this next one. And then as you get better, that creates more confidence. The more that you call, the more confidence you have. It's a common denominator that agents don't like calling leads.
Yes.
I don't think I like calling leads really. I mean, I did because
I think it's that agents don't like wasting their time. And a lot of times they feel like when they're calling leads, they're wasting their time because not every lead is ready to go right now. And agents feel like they're busy.
Right. And that's exactly why we created the ISA department. So with Scott and Joe and all the guys on there, we created this system, which has evolved now into this world-class ISA department that people kind of aspire to.
100%.
And that's all about making sure that every call is answered. Well, here's my another analogy. So the lead coming in is like, if you imagine a relay race with a baton. Here's the baton. When somebody registers on the site, that lead, the client, gets handed to the ISA. Well, the ISA is now going to run around the lap and keep running until that client actually wants to go see a house. So at that point, when they say, hey, Joe, I'd like to go see this house in Brentwood tomorrow. Oh, great. Hang on. It's still a handoff, but they do it in such a way that it seems really, really natural. So we hand that off, and then that goes to the agent. The agent takes that. Now the agent's going to do a lap or two, and then the agent is then going to write the contract, show them the homes, add all the value, the knowledge, and real estate. And when they write the contract, they go, let me hand that to the contract to close team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's taken the agent out of it, essentially. So it's really focusing on the agent doing what they do best. So it's kind of like, in a hospital, you've got everybody knows their
everybody
bit.
has a skill set. Everybody has a very specific
they all have knowledge of whatever, but they're really focused on what they're doing. And when the agent gets it, they're focused on building that rapport, that person, showing them the home, showing them all the local intel that they have, the added value that they're providing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sell them a house, or the house sells it. They've, helped write the contract, and then that goes to the contract to close. And then, so the final piece of the puzzle, I think, is you coming in and saying, hey, we need to figure out what we do after the close. And that's why we're working with milestones and all the co-marketing stuff that we're doing.
Right. You kind of led into that there, talking about co-marketing. You build this enormous database, and I think a lot of real estate agents, and I've been talking about this for months, don't realize just how much value exists there in the relationships they've got with the marketplace. There's a lot of vendors that rely on real estate agents for the business. How are you starting to develop the business specific to the vendors and the ancillary services?
Well, I think I like all the other ones. My focus was always on, let's get the best HVAC guy. Let's get the best plumber. Let's get because that's going to be a reflection of me. So I want this approved list of vendors, and I want them to deliver a world-class experience to our clients. So everything's a cliche, right? Mm-hmm. But cliches are cliches because they've been around for a while and they're proven and they're tried and true. Because we want essentially the client to have such a good experience that if we recommend anybody, that elevates our perception to the client, because they go, oh, Gary knows the best. And so that makes us look good.
Right.
So we want to make sure we got the best HVAC guy and all that good stuff. Because that was my theory, is like, that's how we'll retain clients. Mm-hmm. I think we need to work a little harder than just making sure that they have a good experience. So what I'm trying to do now is really focusing on the fact that the gold is the listings. So the listings are in the database. That's all the past clients. So like these are all cliches, right? But it's true. So we've got to make sure that we can somehow stay in touch or stay in front of the clients. And to me, that's not by ringing up and saying, anybody thinking about buying and selling a home, or sending them the magnet for the football schedule or the hockey schedule or things like that. You've got to create some value. And that's why we're working with milestones. And instead of just focusing on the one, like at team meetings, instead of just having one sponsor come and talk about how awesome they are, and I'll say, hey, this is the best HVAC, we all need to use that, and just having like 5 minutes in front of the agents. Want to now create that relationship, not only between the agents and the vendors, but the vendors to the vendors. Instead of calling them vendors, really they should be, like business partners, because we're all working in this together, to the point where our clients become VIP clients, obviously to us, but also to our vendor partners, because as we give them more business, they see more value in us giving them business. So I don't know why I'm focusing on HVAC, but let's do plumbing. If we have like a really cold winter, like we did this year and the past year, like on Christmas Eve 2 years ago, it was minus 20 something with a wind chill, right? So all these people were having broken burst pipes. So if you're our client, you know that the plumbers are just going to be inundated with work. But I want it to be the point where if it's one of our clients, we get preferential treatment, we get put to the top, because that plumber knows, well, Gary's team, Gary's organization has been giving us a lot of business over the last year. So we want to make sure we look after this guy, then we'll go look after this other agent's clients. But let's get, like, it's just, I don't know, it's simple economics. You look after the people that give you the business, basically.
And you're having a lot of success, not just in doing what real estate agents have always done, which is, I've got a lead here, go call this guy, or here, go call this guy. But you're actually getting these vendors, these preferred partners to come in and legitimately partner with you, contribute financially towards your marketing expenditures.
Yeah, because they know, can they do blast marketing to everybody in Nashville? What an awesome HVAC company there, or plumbers. Why not come with us? Because we're already talking to the target market. We've already invested in generating those people who are actively buying or selling. So that's who they want to talk to. So if I can make an introduction, then because we have this brand equity and we're the number one REMAP team in the world, we do $1 billion in sales. We have a reputation. So therefore, if I'm recommending somebody,
right,
we're passing along that value add to that plumber or to that HVAC to any of those peripheral services. So we're elevating them, so they don't have to say hey, we're awesome. Kind of like they already know they're awesome because they're working with us like an approved sponsor, as it were.
Right. Do you think that if there's aspiring top agents or team leaders that are listening to this, do you think that they have to be a $1 billion team to be able to add value to those vendors to get them to want to pay? Or
no,
do you
because
feel like
everything is, you crawl, then you walk, then you run.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is you have to remember is that those vendors, those partners, if you develop that real partnership and you're working together, and I'm introducing you to the roofing company, you're a plumber, well, there's a perfect synergy there.
Yeah.
So I'm sending new clients, well, your business isn't focused purely on me, so you've got other public, your whole database of clients that you've been working with. Now, because of the leak that they've had, and then where was it? Well, it's a roof thing. So now you're going to start calling the roofing, and then vice versa. So there's a good synergy between everybody. And then at the end of the day, I want those people's database, the plumber, the electrician, I want them to feel confident that they can introduce their clients to us, because when they go to somebody and they fix a problem, and then they're the ones that know when people are thinking about
100%,
moving, or we're thinking about selling, and painting. Somebody comes along and then they're doing the painting, and then it's because the son or the daughter is about to go to college. Well, when they've been at home, they've been allowed to have the bedroom as they want, like black, and it's like, well, now they're going off to college, so now we're going to revert that room. We can use that now for guests, or maybe we're just going to neutralize it. We're going to downsize, and we're going to move down to Florida, and then, or we're going to move closer to little Johnny, who's moved out to I don't know, wherever. So they're early indicators. So the more that we can all work together, because if you can get to the point where you're treating your past clients to the point where they still want to use you, because even though what will invariably happen is that, your clients will somehow meet some other realtors or some other people. If you can create that value add where there's a realtor that lives 3 doors down, but they can't offer everything that we can offer. It's just the economies of scale, So if the agents can focus on building that business, it's like gravitas. You keep building on it, and then I think as the ball keeps rolling, it keeps adding, and then eventually you add that realtor that lives 3 doors down to come and join the team. That's my theory.
Well, you talked about in this episode about being lucky, having vision, and having money, right?
Yep.
And it sounds like with the work that you're doing in relation to vendors and some of the database marketing,
Yep.
Does it feel kind of like stumbling across leads, in the early internet days? Does it feel like you're at the beginning of developing something that will become a really successful and integral part of your business?
Yes, because everything that we're doing is common sense.
Mm-hmm.
You should always follow up with your client. So we used to, having client appreciation parties and things like that. We used to do that with tailgates. We do that now with inviting people to. We do movies in the park. So it's another thing we sponsor that. Bring them along. It's for kids. It's for families. And I always tell the agents, it's you want to send that invite out.
Mm-hmm.
Because the value is in the invite. Because you're not saying, Grant, do you want to buy and sell your house? You're saying, hey, Grant, if you and the wife and the kids want to come, we're doing it's free. It's movies in the park. It's cool. They got all these different vendors there. Mm-hmm. You should come out, and then you can go. Nah, it's Thursday night. I've got something going on. But the fact is that I actually invited you, so I reached out, and it was a way of re-engaging with you and making sure that you're aware of us. So I really had a good point, and I forgot what it was. You can tell you're getting old when good ideas just go zoom.
But the point, I think that the essence of the point is you're not creating all this change and innovation. You're actually just leaning into stuff.
That was it. It was something that we should have always been doing, always been focusing on the past clients. And I think the analogy is the leads are I'm so focused on the leads coming in.
Uh-huh.
And then they got passed off to the agents to work those, and they do a good job. And then everybody's just focused on everything that's coming new, rather than let's put these over here. Let's make sure we keep an eye on these things. Let's keep sending them, the closing statements, just whatever it is to reach out to them. Yeah. So to me, what happens when you live in a house? Things go wrong. You know you're going to have a plumbing issue. You know you're going to have something go wrong with the roof. There's always something. All those peripheral services that people need when they move into a home. If they're moving from Chicago, do they know they maybe want house cleaning? They want they want lawn service. They want to know, well, where's the best place to buy furniture? If we can create, it's just economies of scale. It's like an employee benefits program, really. Mm-hmm. If you use ours, because we've created this volume of business that these vendor partners now go, I value what Gary and the team and the organization has given us. Well, there's enough volume there for us to maybe make a little less and maybe offer some discount back, because we're actually making more money with these. Mm-hmm. So you're doing it on economies of scale. It's like volume of business. So, and then that enables us to be elevated because people want to use us or stay. We still creating value add past the close, and then we're not just waiting for them to call us and say, hey, we're moving to Chicago. Can you sell our home? Right. We want to be constantly involved with them, but not in a salesy way, in a way that creates value add for them in the life cycle of owning a home. Mm-hmm. That's the idea. That's what we're doing.
Well, I didn't know that we would end up talking for an hour and a half, but I'm glad that we did, because this was a lot of incredible information. If somebody's listening to this right now, and maybe they're like Gary 2001, 2, 3, 4, they're trying to find that one thing that's going to help them propel. I know that it's be lucky, have vision, and
luck, vision, and money. Yeah, but you still got to look. And so I'm constantly afraid of being missed out on by the guys that were trying to sell Nashville.com. Would they get through to me today?
Yeah,
probably not. So I always make sure that I get those calls and I get notified.
Always be looking for opportunities.
Yes, and then you can do it, and like TikTok. just figuring out the different ways. We've got all the AI stuff that's out there. You can leverage that. You can be the first one to adopt. And like videos, we've talked about video for like the last 5, 6, 7 years as being the latest thing. And as Mr. Cheplak says, my shitty video will outperform your non-existent video. Right. So that, I mean, John's been saying that as long as I've known him, like 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. You just have to be the one that excels in your own little field, and that could be, I don't know, you become a specialist of your neighborhood, specialist of the price range, specialist of certain, getting all the designations that allow you to talk knowledgeably about doctors or divorces or something. So there's ways of doing it. I mean, to me, I would always start with a team, because the team is what's going to actually give you that access to all the experience that I always tell people, if they join the team, I can compress about 2 or 3 years of real estate experience into probably the first 6 months. Because instead of you going around turning over every stone,
trying to find opportunities,
we're like, here you go. Mm-hmm. Take it and run with it. Like, oh, you wrote the contract, great, give it to contract to close. Right, here's the next one. Mm-hmm. Keep going,
And when you're at that stage where you're getting into momentum and you're starting to take off, you don't have to, in the beginning, you don't have to go do a dozen things to become successful. You can do it if you focus your energy on 1 or 2 key things.
So this is where the luck comes in, because you need somebody like Mrs. Beagle to kind of organize everything. And she's got the vision as well to really focus on how we do the lead generation, how we train the agents, how we create opportunities, how that works with the ISA development, how that works with our listing opportunities. So a lot of times I'll go, hey, I've got a great idea. Scott, can you take care of that? And I'm like, I'm out. So then I leave Scott to kind of figure out, well, okay, this is pretty good. Let me see if I can figure this out. And then, work with Deborah, and work with Joe, and work with Jude, and all the numerous people on the team, Amy, in the marketing department. Without all these little pieces, or not little, but without everybody working together, then it's just lots of ideas. And here's another analogy for you. It's kind of like with a band. Mm-hmm. We need the strong foundation, which is bass and drums. And then you need the rhythm guitar, and then you need guitar. And then what does everybody focus on in the band? The lead singer. Mm-hmm. So that's, in a way, that's kind of like the agent. So the agent's getting all the focus, but really it's the band behind them that gives them that foundation so that they can go out and deliver this amazing performance. But if the drummer's no good, if Scott's no good with the database, if Joe's no good with making those initial calls, the ISA department, so everything falls down. So you can be the best agent in the world, but if you don't have this strong foundation, this band behind you, then you just whatever.
Well,
can we think of any more analogies?
I don't know. I think I want Gary to get the drums out and play a little tune for us to sing us out of here, or to throw us out of here. We have Gary Ashton, the #1 RE/MAX team
in the world.
I'm grateful that you spent an hour and a half with us, talking us through how you build a $1 billion company, $1 billion in sales.
I mean, again, it's not me. It's Deborah, it's Scott, it's Joe, it's Jeff, it's Angela. It's like the one thing that I always remember, the Verizon commercial from years ago. It's like, can you hear me now? And then he'd move, and then you'd see this whole army of people behind him. So it's the same thing. Like the band is the singer, but it's everybody behind. So it's literally everybody that becomes an integral part of the organization.
And I think that's what you guys got to focus on, as well as building your support system, building your team, which is a lot of what Gary's talking about today. Because I know, and I get to work with all of these incredible people too. It would not be possible without all of them. I know that this episode, if you listen to all of it, especially, was full of wisdom. Thank you, Gary, for giving it to us today. And thank you all for continuing to listen to The Grant Wise Show. I'll link up a bunch of stuff in the show notes, Gary's commercials, other samples of some of the stuff that he talked about today so you can digest that. This is one of the most successful real estate team leaders in the world, and grateful we all got to learn from his wisdom over the last.
I'll give you one last piece of advice.
Parting analogy.
The best lead generation tool that I've discovered in the last 3 or 4 years is to go out and adopt or buy man's best friend, a dog, because that is the one thing. I've got a couple of little Bernedoodles. Girls will come up and say, "Hey, what's the name of your dog?" And that obviously leads you into chatting. Guys will come up. It's one of the best lead generation tools I've ever had. Hanging out a dog park. You know that you wouldn't go, I wouldn't just come up and talk to you
as a stranger.
But if you've got a dog, I was like, "Hey, can I say hello?" And it just, I don't know. I live in the gulch, and there was a Starbucks there, and I wouldn't even get a Starbucks. I would just sit with the dog after walking around, and then people would just come out and they would start chatting to me about, "Hey, what's your dog's name?" And it literally probably led to about 10 or 15 sales just from within that immediate area of the condos.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Parting wisdom, get a dog.
And then put your dogs on the billboard. That's the killer right there.
We're going to make this into a course. We'll have it for sale later so that you can take it to your next real estate coach right here, teaching you how to get a dog. Gary, thanks again, man. Thanks you all for listening to this show. Hit me on social media with your favorite takeaways from the show. Leave a review for Gary here, some of the greatest wisdom you got from it. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Grant Wise Show. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, leave us a review, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks.